Pinchas. Begorel, Yahlek, הארץ. We learned already the first paragraph where we were speaking about that in the division of Eretz Yisrael, there's three different levels. There's a level of according to intellect, according to seichel, which is the idea of larav tarbe v'lama'at tamid, that according to the population, that's what they will receive, a higher amount, a lesser amount, versus the way it was divided according to a lottery, which lottery shows on higher than seichel, and then there was another thing of according to ruach hakodesh. So now, in the next ois, in ois beis, on the first page of the Maimer, he's going to explain what is this idea of the Gogol beruchnius. So again, bottom of the first page of the Maimer. Ois beis. V'hinei, in the Yahlek Haaretz al pi Gogol, the idea of dividing the land according to a lottery. Mevark v'yusad mar tzemach tzedek, the tzemach tzedek explains, yusad al Maimer v'yusad mar avzokin, based on the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, Masha Masha Yerbechne Bezachai. Concerning what Rabbi Yechon Mezachai said, it was he was on his deathbed, and he told his students, I do not know in what way they will lead me. In other words, after I pass on, I don't know what's going to happen with me. In other words, will I go to Gan Eden or Chas v'Shalom? The opposite. The Lechura to more seemingly it's a wonder. The Alter Rebbe explains. Rabbi Yechon Mezachai did not walk even 4 cubits without studying Torah and without wearing tefillin. And 80 years he studied and he taught Torah. So what room is there for a doubt and what way he's going to be going after he passes away? And said Alter Rebbe explains concerning this. This is because looking as far as what's going on from the essence of the soul. What does that mean? Looking from the perspective of the soul that's beyond reason and knowledge and understanding. In other words, the rational revealed part of the soul over there, Rabbi Yechon Mezachai, everything was in order. But higher than that, the essence of the soul, that was the question that Rabbi Yechon Mezachai was in doubt about. V'lachein, top of the second page, Rabbi Yechon Mezachai said, I do not know what way I'm going to be led. Though he was involved in Torah, because the fact that he was involved in Torah is something has to do with reason and understanding. There's no proof for levels that are beyond reason. And therefore, as good and as wonderful he is in his Torah learning and all the other things that are logical or rational, could be the super rational place. The Etzem HaNefesh is perhaps not in where it's supposed to be. Also this level, the level is beyond reason, since there applies reward and punishment for that level that's higher than the rational part of the neshama. In other words, concerning about what level that super rational part of the neshama is at, that will determine if he will be entitled to reward or not. How do you know that that level of neshama is entitled to reward or not? Like it's understood from the very fact. I do not know in what way they're leading me. So that means that even the super rational level of the neshama, what he's calling here the Etzem HaNefesh, could be something that would impact his reward and punishment. So reward and punishment are based on my choices. A person cannot be rewarded or chas v'shalom punished for something that is beyond his choice. So therefore the Rebbe says, Muchach mizeh, we must say, that there is the possibility and the capability and the permission and the control everybody is given, also concerning the super rational level of the soul, or else there wouldn't be a question about reward and punishment, and therefore Rabbi Yechon Mezachai would not have been concerned on his deathbed, am I going to receive reward or not? What does this mean? There's a type of avodah that influences and affects also the essence of the soul. And through that avodah that we're going to speak about, the essence of the soul will be the way it's supposed to be, in such a way that will be entitled to the appropriate reward. And this level of the soul, that is the super rational level of the soul, which is calling the essence of the soul, and also the avodah that's connected with this level, both of those things, the avodah and the essence of the soul that's influenced and impacted by this avodah, both of them are called goyrol. And that's what the Tzemach Tzedek explains. According to this, the Tzemach Tzedek explains the division of the land according to the Goyrol in Pnimis and Yonim, because Goyrol involves this higher level, this level, the super rational level of the soul, and the avodah that impacts the super rational level of the soul. And the explanation of this connection of these three things: the Goyrol Shabanefesh, that super rational level of the soul that's called the lottery of the soul, and the part that's called a lottery, a Goyrol, in a person's service to Hashem, and the down here, the division according to the Goyrol, B'chaluk, the division of the land, that's according to a lottery. So to explain the connection between them, all matters in the world are to be found the corresponding levels within a Yid. Especially the part in the world that has a specific connection to the Yid. In general, everything in the world is connected with Yid. But then there is an allotted part of the world that has to do with the Yid, which is Eretz Yisrael. The land of Yisrael obviously has more to do, and has especially to do with Yisrael. Like the Chazal state, when Hashem created the world, He divided the different lands. Hashem chose for himself, his land is Eretz Yisrael. And similarly, amongst the nations of the world, he chose for himself the Yid. And then Hashem said, let these two come together. Yavoyu Yisrael Shabal Lechelki, let the Yidden that they were allotted to me of all the nations come and inherit the land that was my allotment. That's why Hashem gave the entire land of Canaan to Avram Avinu for himself and to his children after him as an everlasting inheritance. And therefore, because of this strong association between them, moving for this understood, that the matters in Eretz Yisrael correspond to the matters that are amongst the Yidden, within the Yidden themselves. So to the opposite, the things that are to be found in a Yid correspond and to the matters that are to be found in Eretz Yisrael. Since concerning Eretz Yisrael, and conquering the land of Canaan, to transform it and turn it from a land of Canaan that now can be called the land of Yisrael. So in that process, there were three aspects and components. There were the three components of a lottery, and there was the Ruach HaKodesh, and there was intellect and a rational division. The idea of the intellect involved in transforming Eretz Canaan to Eretz Yisrael is the fact that it was logical to give to the greater population more and the lesser population less. Moving, it's understood that these three things are to be found in a Yid: the lottery, the Ruach HaKodesh, and the intellect. That it's to be found in the spiritual aspect of the Yidden. The physical aspect is physically the way they have to do with conquering Eretz Yisrael. וגם זה דרב ומעט, מכיוון שיש בחלוקת ארץ ישראל בנגיע לגוף שהוא טפל. Even this idea of more people versus less people in per shevet are to be found in the division of Eretz Yisrael concerning the body, which the body is something that is only auxiliary to the neshama. So if in the body there is something called lerav u'lama'at, there's more bodies, literally, and less bodies. How much more so that there is this idea of the more and the fewer in the spiritual aspect, which is the neshama, that's primary, more important than the body. Since the goal of the Yidden, the purpose of the Yidden is like the Chazal say, I was created to serve my Maker. How they move, and it's understood that all of these three matters. Are also to be found in the idea of serving my Maker in the service of Hashem. So again, we're seeing all three things come together in concept. We still have to explain how. There is in the Eretz Yisrael division, there is in the person, the Yid, the body and the soul. And then in the Avodah, just like we were talking about, the girdle has the girdle in the lottery of Eretz Yisrael, the girdle the way it is in the part of the nefesh, and the girdle the way it has to do in Avodah. The same thing with all of these things are to be found in all three aspects. Ois Daled, the idea behind this is it was explained of the days of redemption of Yid Beis Gimel Tammuz, which was that year in Tafshil Lamed Hey. So the Rebbe is referring back to the two Mamorim that we learned previously, the Maimer Oz Yashir, Ali Ben Anula, and so on. These present days, this was a Maimer that the Rebbe said on the 16th of Tammuz. But by the Rebbe, until the next Yom Tov, it's still all a connection with the previous. So it's all still under the influence of Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz. So on those Mamorim, the last two Mamorim preceding this, the Rebbe spoke about Sheb Yisrael Yesh Gimel Dargos. And by Yid, there's three levels. The way they are the spring of the gardens. In other words, the way the neshama is in Gan Eden. The way they are a well of living water, which is the way they come down here on the ground, like the well water that comes from underground. And how they come through what it says, rise up the well and respond to her to the level that all the way it pours down from Levonon, that it's even a higher level than it was when it was in Gan Eden before it came down here. But mazel, we also said noislim pouring is also from the word mazel. The mazel, which is beyond chokhmah bina, we identified it previously with keser, with this idea of a lottery, like it's explained in many places. Just like a lottery is beyond reason, the same thing, the mazel is beyond reason. I mean, even the colloquial usage, you would say, if someone won a girdle, you'll say, he had good mazel. He was very fortunate. So mazel and girdle, even in the colloquial, is associated. But Chassidus also explains their association. So here's where he's going to tie it in. The first link with the previous Mamorim, that V'noizim and Elvonim, which is the idea of mazel, has to do with what we're talking about in this Maimer about the girdle. And then the Rebbe reviews and will elaborate on some of the things we learned earlier. In his Bar Bazar was explained concerning this. The spring of the gardens is referring to the neshamas the way they are above, before they descended to below. The neshamas above, the Rebbe is introducing now a new concept. When they are the level of Mayin Ganim, the spring of the Gan Eden, Atach, Gan Eden Elyon, they are called the daughters of Yerushalayim. What's the idea of Yerushalayim? First of all, Yerushalayim Moira al Shleimus Hayir, top of page Tzadik Vav. Yerushalayim shows on the perfection of awe. But Toisus, like the Toisus brings down, Yerushalayim is really a joining of two words. Nikral Shem Yira, it's called for the word Yira, which Chassidus is associating with awe. Val Shem Sholem, that in the name complete. So you put it together, Yerushalayim means Yira Sholem. Therefore, we do not insert the letter Yud in Yerushalayim between the Lamed and Mem, and we actually find it sometimes referred to as Yerushalayim, without the Yud in between, to indicate this idea of the combination of Yira and Sholem, that the awe is the ultimate level of Shleimus. Hanesham is Kamoishem Lamailo, the Nesham is the way they are above the level of Mayun Ganim. Nikram Shem Benois Yerushalayim, they're called the daughters of Yerushalayim, because that's what they're connected with. Lafisha Ozem Shlem Sayira, because the Neshamas above are in the ultimate state of awe of Hashem. Then the next level, the second level of the Neshamas, Ube'er, the level of the well of Mayim Chaim. Koyal Neshamas K'meshiyardul Mata, it's referring to Neshamas the way they stand below. Umulubasha is Begufim Gashmi, and they're clothed in physical bodies, Bedugmas Haberish and Nimtza B'ayim Haaretz, just like a well that's found in the depth of the earth. But this descent is for the sake of an ascent. Through the avoid of the neshama down here below specifically. It rises up in a much higher level than the way it was prior to its descent. That's what it means. That it says concerning the B'nai Yerushalayim, it says, I am dark and I am beautiful. So what's the connection between darkness and beautiful? That the neshamas that descended below to become enclosed in a body and an animal soul, they are relating and telling the neshamas above that are called the daughters of Yerushalayim. Though I am blackened, I am darkened. How are they called blackened and darkened? Why are they so? Since because through descending to this low world, there's no world lower than it. Binyan Hester is Baruch concerning the concealment of Hashem's light. So through that, he nases bechinas shachris. The neshama becomes a level of dark. Shu heder lagamri. It's completely a lack of light. Become mokum still in all. Through the level that I am dark, only through this it becomes beautiful. She misalis it arises at an even higher level of beauty than it was when it was called the daughters of Yerushalayim. Just like the well that we've been talking about the whole time. Through its waters passing through the veins and channels on the ground. That conceal and cover over the water. They become refined until they become living waters. It's an even higher level of elevation and purity even than a spring. Of a Mishnah, like it's brought down the Mishka Shadavka Mayim Chaim, specifically living waters, Mash'enkin Mayim, as opposed to a spring, Metairim as Gimel, Tumas, Achamuras, that they purify the most severest three impurities, Ad Tumas Mes, until the impurity of contact with a dead body, Shiavi Avais Atuma, it's called the father of the fathers of Tumah. So al derech zeb gam benegel on neshama. In a similar vein, it's also concerning the neshama. Through its descent down there below and becoming clothed in the body and the animal soul, that are concealing and covering over the light of neshama. Kishim is galus makil suva hester. That through the avoida of the officers and ministers digging it up, and the Nedivi the giving ones of the people, dug it up also. These two words used for digging, chafira and kriya, chafru and karua, It's the removal of the concealment and the covering of the body and the animal soul. That are concealing, covering over the light of the neshama. Just like when you dig up a well, it's removing the earth that's concealing and covering the water. And we also explained that there's two components to this avodah of revealing the neshama. There are two components and two aspects. Aleph, one is the meditation that's called the officers or ministers, and that is these bonus, because the intellect is considered an officer because it is in charge of and rules over the heart. They are called the ones, the giving, it's an emotion. Giving and the dava and the div, that shows on a good-heartedness that has to do with the emotions in the heart. So through the two things, sorim and the diviyam, we dig up the neshama that's concealed on the ground. Shalyod and bolusur merav say to a poem that through that one comes to turning away from bad and doing good in actuality. So through that the neshama rises to an even higher level than it was before its descent. That now becomes living water, that's higher than the spring of the gardens, like we said before, that Mayim Chaim is the one that can do all the taras of all the different types of tumah, including the most severe. And even more so, that only through this it comes to a level that it pours down from Levonin, the level of Mazel, the level of Lev Nun that we spoke about. That's the 32 and the 50 having to do with Chochmah and Bina. So now it goes back to the pasuk that introduced in this mimer, that I'm dark and I'm beautiful. It's not despite my being dark. It's the darkness itself, the insertion in the ground, the being involved in the physical, that darkness, through that I become beautiful. But where does it come from? This power that the neshama in the body has for such an avodah comes down from its root above. That's why we said before that the neshamas are addressing the B'nai Yerushalayim. The neshamas down here are telling, you should know, B'nai Yerushalayim, I am dark, shchoira v'nava. But why does it have to tell the B'nai Yerushalayim that? Is it trying to, is it a contest over here? Is it a challenge? Who's better, me or you? The neshamas above, the neshamas down here? No. The reason why it's telling the B'nai Yerushalayim, shchoira and v'nava B'nai Yerushalayim, why is it addressing the B'nai Yerushalayim, saying that through the darkness I'm becoming beautiful? Because this capability that the neshama in the body has to refine the darkness, etc., is and to be beautiful. It's through the assistance that comes down to the neshama in the body from its root above. The neshamas above that are called B'nai Yerushalayim assist the neshama down here below that it should be able to accomplish the shchoira and v'nava. And this we also explained is the idea Ali Be'er and Nula, that Nula is talking about the Isirusa de La'elam, the inspiration from above that allows and causes that the Be'er should rise up, that we say to the Be'er Ali Be'er.